What is up, guys? It's the Sound Alchemist, joined at the left toe with
Gershwan.
because the right one is joined with somebody else. I'll let you guys decide. And welcome to another Q&A questionnaire entitled For the Greater.
This is a video series where we answer the questions left by you, the viewer. If you have a question for us, comment down below. Put a question in front of your question because we get to those questions first. We are also rolling out super thanks, so if you guys want to support the channel, you can send us over a super thanks. It's kind of like Patreon, but it's just supporting the channel. And that you don't have to ask a question, but if you do ask a question, we will answer it guaranteed in the video. And that is who did it?
Iraq9 did it. He said, no question. But he was going to ask if a 40K MMO was possible from a balanced perspective. And then he discovered the abomination that was Eternal Crusade. He says, anyway, here's a few bucks for getting us onto watching videos like The Greater Wall and 40K in 40 minutes. But yeah, thanks. He answered his own question, so you guys can do that too.
Yep.
Now on to the actual question. This one is by Mr. Not Maybe You. What was the biggest mistake from each Primarch during the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy? Love your content and keep up the amazing work.
That's kind of different. So from the Horus Heresy, which was the biggest mistake?
I think there's a lot, but clearly I feel like the biggest mistake comes from none other than the Emperor. His mistake, I mean, I think I've made a whole video on like how the Emperor did things wrong, but I'll go with probably one of the most well-known one, and that is just keeping secrets.
Yeah.
Why? Like, you have plans that you've been working for millennia, and you keep secrets from the Primarchs, which are essentially your children, and they're as strong as demigods, which can easily be used as tools to push your agenda, your ideals, your whole workload to create a flourishing humanity, and you keep secrets. Yep. You don't tell them what the Golden Throne is for. You don't tell them about the warp. You don't tell them about chaos. You don't tell them that... There's just so much. Like, the whole thing about Magnus breaking through the palace and, like, busting all the warp gates, pretty much. Flooding with demons and stuff like that. The way he just got Angron from his world and basically made Angron the anger beast he is today. Like, the list goes on and on and on and on. So the biggest mistakes was the creation of the Emperor and his secrets.
Yeah. During the heresy, yeah, he did a lot of like fucked up things.
Yeah.
I wonder how much of it, based on like what the new novels are saying, is because he wanted to keep things secret, because the Primarchs weren't really his sons, as like they weren't totally and completely in his like reign of control as we thought in the past. Because now there's this whole thing of like the allegiance to the mother and all that kind of stuff. So.
Yeah. I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. And I mean, maybe we're not supposed to know because we're just lowly humans. We can't understand the machinations of the mind of the Emperor.
He's basically Zinch.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good one. In the Horus Heresy, I just think like Leman Russ was a little too aggressive. If he would have been like a little bit more like, let me try to figure this out. So instead of taking the advice of Horus and going and assaulting Tisca, then maybe
Prospero.
Magnus.
Well,
yeah.
Prospero was the world. Tisca was the city.
Maybe he wouldn't have, or Magnus wouldn't have turned. But yeah.
But I mean, that was his thing, though. He's supposed to be the aggressor, the Emperor's execution. Like, he was kind of created with that in mind.
But you would think that, like, at some point, one of his brothers would be like, "Hey, man, like, relax a little."
And then that's when they start tussling.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that whole thing of like Horus lying to Leman Russ and saying the Emperor said go kill him. Yeah, that was messed up.
Yeah.
Why would you even believe that too?
Because he's the War Master.
Well, yeah, but
he
like,
holds the same weight as the Emperor.
Like and maybe the Lost Primarchs were killed by the Space Wolves, and this was just kind of like
right.
This is what we're supposed to do. But still, like, why would you believe that when like it hasn't really happened? Because they don't explicitly say Leman Russ killed the Lost Primarchs.
No, it's just kind of inferred. There's little like sentences here and there, and it's like anything that involves the Lost Primarchs isn't 100% legit. Because sometimes they retcon stuff, sometimes they add new stuff that doesn't make much sense, but Yeah.
But I do think that was like the biggest mistake during the Horus Heresy. Now I was thinking about this question in the sense of like, what is the biggest mistake like for all of 40K? And I think it's the taking away the ambiguity of it and like giving solid answers.
Yeah.
Which is what the Horus Heresy novels are doing. I don't think I like that.
Yeah, because a lot of times you create this whole narrative, this whole explanation, this whole badass lore in your head to fill in the gaps. And then when those gaps are filled by concrete stuff, it's like, oh, it's just this.
Yeah.
It takes away the wonder. And we bring this up a lot, but it's like the exorcists of the Space Marines, like they're supposed to be secretive and like blanks, and they're maybe, you know, they come from the Grey Knights. No.
Nope.
Emperors, or no, Imperial Fists, successor.
Yeah.
And they're not blanks anymore.
Supposedly.
Oh, wow, there's a hummingbird outside.
Oh, cool.
Maybe this means Fulgrim's nearby, because that boy likes to suck.
I thought it was the beauty of the hummingbird.
Yeah, but that boy likes to suck.
Next question comes from Drew Cipher. Why do the Blood Ravens have a reputation for stealing everything?
Because they steal everything.
I think it goes back to that idea of like they come from a successor chapter or from the remnants of a separated fleet of the Thousand Sons. And their point is to go collect sacred items and bring it back to Tisca, because Tisca is basically like the planet of the sorcerers, or it became the planet of sorcerers, but it's basically like Alexander's library, where all this like sorceress knowledge comes and like makes a home. And I think that stayed with that with those Battle Brothers, who then taught it to the next generation, and then they became the Raven. What is the Raven Guard? Not the Raven Guard. The
Blood Ravens.
The Blood Ravens, and then that's what it's kind of highlighting. It's highlighting the fact that they come from this. What would it be called? Like collecting type of.
Kind of like trophies. Like, look how grand we are. These are all of our achievements, kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's what they are. They usually just collect like relics.
And it's cool because this chapter wasn't even a thing. It became first noted in the Dawn of War series. Yep. And then it became canonized.
I think there was a lot of people hating on it because it was like the Blood Ravens were just stealing from the Blood Angels and the Raven Guard. But no, not really.
No, they kind of have their own identity.
Yeah, they came out to be more Thousand Sons than anything. So I think people jumped to conclusion because of the simple name.
Yes.
Yes. Next question.
This one is by Damned Legion. He says, how do the other races view the warp? So I think it depends. For the most part, when it comes to the Tau, when they used the Star-Tide Nexus to do faster than light travel, they actually went into the warp. And I believe what they saw was just a bunch of like weird shapes and shadows, a bunch of vibrant colors, and all this made them go crazy. And the Tau actually ended up killing any auxiliaries, such as the Kroot and the Vespid, because they thought they were demons. Yeah. So maybe it was just Zeech. Maybe that's why all the psychedelic colors were there, or maybe that's just how their tiny brains, I wouldn't say tiny because they could do all this technological stuff, but like the way they are created or formed, it's like they don't really have a warp signature. So I think maybe since their bodies aren't meant to be warp entities, they couldn't grasp that and they just saw weird colors.
Yeah. And also, like, I think the psychically powerful races that entered with them, or like the more sensitive ones, turned into demons.
Demons, and that's why they were killing them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eldar, how do they see the warp? Scary.
No, I think they understand it a little bit more, and they've seen the perversion that has happened because of everything. But that perversion happened because of them, like during their golden age. So I think there's a sense of resentment, and there's like an arrogance that doesn't let, because like at the end of the day, it was their fault, right? Like they were having orgies and all that stuff, which caused Slanesh to be born. So then there's this arrogance of like, no, we didn't do that. Now it's just shitty because of humanity. No, it's not. It's because it's
them.
Necrons.
They don't.
Just another weapon that they can't really control. Orcs love it. They love going into the warp and finding out that like the weird boy's brain exploded and now there's a bunch of demons and they want to kill the demons. Yeah. So it's almost like a testing ground. It's like a gym for them.
Tyranids, they kind of don't want to because there's no point in fighting them because there's no biomass to consume.
Even though I think it's a point for them to evolve into something better, and we're starting to see that with the High Fleet Cronus.
I believe it's Cronus.
And the fact that it seems like the Tyranids are gravitated towards the Astronomicon, which is a beacon in the warp. So there's something there.
Yeah, so think of the Astronomicon being like, how would you put it? Almost like an ocean?
Yeah, like
or no, the lighthouse. It's the lighthouse, and the warp is the ocean.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe, my theory is like maybe the Tyranids are looking to control that thing that can penetrate through the fog of the warp. And then, so they have the shadow of the warp, but then they have now the opposite, which is like a beam of attraction, basically. So it would be really funny if the Tyranids evolved a way to create kind of like a bug zapper thing, where like the demons are attracted to this light, kind of like the Emperor's light, and then kills
them off.
Yeah.
Almost like a light of blanks, a pariah light, something like that.
But good question.
Yeah. Victor Chavez has like a supplemental question to a question from a previous Greater Wall. He says, okay then, how many custodies would it take to kill each Primarch? And thanks for the 1,000,000 great vids. So basically the question was, can a Primarch beat a custody? And the answer is no. Now, we kind of went a little bit more and we said that sometimes when they were training, a custody would get the better of a Primarch, but it's like, you have the rider doing it. It could be the custody really trying really hard and the Primarch, not really giving a crap.
Yeah.
So how many do you think it would actually take to take down a Primarch then?
One Primarch? I think 300.
You think so?
Yeah, maybe even less.
These guys are not only better warriors than Astartes, they're equipped with the best armor, the best training, the best weapons, because they're meant to protect the Emperor. Where the Primarchs are meant to be a weapon of war, essentially the spear tip of the Emperor, the Custodies are the shield of the Emperor. So it's interesting to see if the unstoppable shield, or unstoppable spear can take on the unbreakable shield.
Right.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think maybe around like 300 Custodies can take them out, if that.
Yeah. Because like, let's say Demon Primarch Angron did break through and he was about to assault Terra, the Emperor's Palace. The 300 should take care of it.
Yeah, because it was said that 1,000 Custodies took on basically who was it, Olenor? It was like 100 million orcs.
Oh yeah.
And it says that not one died.
Custodies,
yeah.
So, yeah, they're strong. Maybe not Primarch level strong. Actually, now I'm starting to think like maybe even less than.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Like 10. There's no like real way to gauge, I guess, or there is, but maybe that's a topic for a video.
Right, because if like you would say, oh, maybe some Space Marines are Primarch level, like Drago, taking on Demon Mortarion and winning. Maybe like Constantine or Valdor can take on a Primarch.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But those were the questions for today. If you guys have more questions for us, please comment down below. Thank you guys so much for listening and hanging out with us. And if you guys didn't get your question answered, ask again or send us over a super thanks and we will guarantee answer.
That's right, guys. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the comments, and we'll keep it going. As always, it's the Sound Alchemist,
Gersh1,
and we are out.
Always used to put my freedom first in any situation.